So I'm here with my guy Is, man, at Motorsports Designs. Motorsports Designs, right?
Motorsport Designs, that's what?
Right. So you see here that you wrapping cars and stuff like that. You know, why don't you tell us exactly what got you into this?
And bro, so it's a little tough to say, but I started just wanting to have a side hustle. I actually started window tinting. That was the first thing we started to do. I was working a full-time job and I needed a side hustle. My wife was going to school, so we needed to figure out how to make some extra money. So she was working a job too, part-time, so I was like, you know what, found some YouTube videos, was like, let me order up some cheap window tint off of eBay. Ordered me that, started watching YouTube videos, went from there. Did that for a minute, and after a while, it just kind of, I lost track of wanting to run a business. And so I ended up trying to get promoted at work. I went through that, went and got promoted, this and that, and was working a good job, making some good money, but at the end of the day, I did that for a while and I just felt like it wasn't what I needed to do.
What's the origin of the company name, you know, Motorsports Design? Like, where did that come from?
So I wanted to pick a name that would allow me to do a lot of different things. Also, I do all of our website, I do most of our graphic design, so I wanted to also make our name be SEO friendly, to be found on Google friendly, right? That took a long time, so there's a lot of thinking like what word is generic enough that can be found by people Googling anything in the car world, and also what can tie me to it, and that came into designs, because we'll fucking take a car, design it, we'll sit down, figure out what you want and go from there.
What clicked in your head and made you want to go onto the wave of entrepreneurship? Like, what really was the boom, I gotta do it and put in this 2 weeks notice?
It's just looking at how much money companies make out there and how shitty you get treated as an employee, how fucking like hard it is to try to get promoted even if you do the right thing. And I think that's where I really got pissed. It was like, I'm over here, I'm doing the right stuff, I'm following the rules, I'm kissing the right person's asses, you got to, and still nothing. You know, 10 years you're putting into a company, and at the end of the day, it didn't really mean anything. So I think I reached a point there thinking about that, but I could never make the jump. I was always too scared, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's just leaving a good paying job to like wanting to do it. So then at one point, I tried to take a step back. I was like, let me take a different route in the company. And I took a different route.
So what you're saying is you didn't think about the 401k, you think about the pension, you just like, you want to make your own way, you know what I'm saying? Because you got tired of basically putting the money in somebody else's pocket, and you going home at the end of the day unhappy. Okay, so how was the process? Like, how was, like, you know, getting into the world, you know, finding a location, you know what I mean?
Man.
Getting to, you know, try to make a whole company, you know what I mean, out of nothing without any like real background on it.
Yeah, that was the hard part, man. First thing was figuring out how to establish a business, figuring out where to go get a business name, registering your name, setting up corporation or LLC, like all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it was just looking it up online, asking friends, talking to other people. There was just really no set way to do it. It's really just like to figure it out. I mean, unless you go to school for it, but I just started asking people I know. And then little by little, one person would tell me one thing, person tell me another thing, and I just go from there. But it's a long, long process, man.
Right. I mean, how long have you been doing this?
I'd say, well, end of 2018 is when we officially started the business. So I guess you could say right now, what, 2 years?
2 years. And in that 2 years, what's like the craziest experience you had?
There's a lot of experiences with customers that happen all the time. You know, some people will come in, they'll want to pay, they'll want to do something, and then they change their mind. You know, at that point, then they want their money back, but then I'm invested into material for them. Those turn into arguments sometimes, those turn into issues, and so there's people that come in and want to tell me how to do my job. They're like, oh, you got to do it like this, you got to do it like that. I love people trying to tell me how much I should charge them. Oh, you should charge me this because you're just putting on a sticker on my car. So though that's the crazy part about it.
What motivated you to want to get into, you know, wrapping cars and, you know what I mean, committing or making stickers, window stickers, any of it?
So yeah, I mean, now our biggest business is wrapping cars. We do a lot of paint correction. The biggest thing that got me into it was the money, man. I needed this side hustle that made money, and after that, I realized I always wanted to be my own boss.
What color gray is this?
This is called chalk gray. It's similar to like what's on like the Chargers and the Hellcats and stuff like that.
So what's the average time frame on wrapping a full vehicle? Like, let's just say a
5 days.
mid-sized vehicle.
We try to get a car done in 5 days.
5
Whether
days.
it's a smaller car, a bigger car, it's you drop it out. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. You drop it out Tuesday, pick it up Saturday. Sometimes if it's a complicated project, we'll go extra days. But like this car will be ready to be picked up probably by the end of business today.
Okay, so how long would you say our wrap genuinely lasts?
Depending on the brand that you work with, that we pick out for material, I'd say if you take care of it pretty normally, you get about a good 5 years out of it.
Good 5 years, that ain't bad. That's pretty good actually,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And it's something custom, and it'll be exactly what you want. If like this guy's getting this color, nobody else is gonna have it because they don't sell it in this color. So.
Right. In your hiring process now, what are you looking for in employee?
Honestly, I'm looking for like a person's personality and their work ethic over whether they know the skill. The two guys that work with me right now had never touched any of this before, you know, and so it was more like, I'll train you. I just need to make sure the type of person is going to show up on time that I could trust. I mean, I'm trusting you with a brand new car all the time, right? This is $40,000 car. We got a Range Rover coming in next week. AMG coming in the week after that. So we got all these expensive cars. I gotta trust that you're gonna work on it, and that if something happens, you don't try to hide it. That you let me know and we work on it. At the end of the day, shit happens, but we'll manage through it. So that's what I look for as in the person.
What's the process like when you have to get benefits and packages like that? Like, what is it like getting insurances?
Yeah,
in
so
place?
California requires that as the moment you have one official employee, you have to have your workers' comp liability insurance. So you don't have to have benefits because we're too small to be able to afford benefits, but we do have to have that insured that if you get hurt here, you can go to the emergency room and the insurance will cover you. That part is hard because when you're small businesses, number one, it is super expensive. Number two, some companies don't even want to insure you. We work on cars, so they're like, you're too much of a liability because you can have a car lifted up and it can fall, and that's expensive. So I went through a couple brokers in the beginning. I went through private insurances. I went through a lot. It took me a long time to figure out I'd say probably took me a year to figure out how to get insured properly.
If you were to say anything, anybody getting into this, what would be the first thing you told them?
Oh man, I never thought about that. But I guess the first thing I'd say is decide if you want to do this as a real business or decide if you want to do it as a side hustle. Because if you want to go into a real business, it's not as cheap as people think it is. It's a lot more expensive. We got insurances upon of insurances. When we take apart cars, we got to be covered for all that. Liability of everything, overhead, I mean, rent, like it's so much to cover. So you got to be willing to not take a paycheck for a long time, to be honest. And that's where I'm at. And then I think about hiring people. Whereas if you do it as a side hustle, you ain't even got to report taxes. You just buy your shit, you buy your material, you do it. So that's what I would say is the first thing to think about.
Okay. Is there anything else on the list that we're missing here? Or are you still selling?
Say, well, there's probably like 5 different insurances you have to have. Like, it's crazy. And again, this is why I say in the beginning, like, decide if you want to do this as a real business or as a side hustle. Because I'd say just to keep this box open, right, with all my overhead and everything like that, not including employees, just all the stuff that has to get paid, I'm probably looking at, not including rent, probably easily $1,500. On top of that, there's rent. On top of that, there's employees' payroll. Like, it's an expensive thing to do.
Are there any ways that you feel like would be easier as far as like trying to like purchase materials and purchase an area to do this? Like, where do you feel like a person should start?
If you're looking to start this specifically, I mean, there's plenty of websites online where you can buy stuff and you don't have to buy as a company, as a business. I mean, I think that's where you should start. I don't think you should start to get too big too soon, like kind of grow organically. But I will say you don't need a lot of money to start this. When I started this and I quit my job, I put in my 2 weeks, I had probably to my name, maybe a couple $1,000s in savings, nothing crazy in my last paycheck. So I'd say, and then as soon as that happened, that a few months later, that all that money, whatever little I had, went towards the down payment deposit to get this place and begin the lease. And going into that first month, I didn't have enough money to pay that the end of the month's rent, unless I got to hustling and started to bring customers in to be able to afford to pay that rent.
Right. What's the future for this? Like, where do you see this going?
Oh man, that's the future is endless, bro. I really think huge. So we're looking into. I got 2 people that work in here with me. One almost full timer, and another part timer. I got a couple other people that work for me doing other parts of the business. So the biggest task right now is figuring out how I can have other people help me run the business and figure out how to grow the business. Looking into another location, I need something about twice the size of this space right now.
Okay.
Something a little bit nicer, and honestly, becoming just a spot where full customization of whatever you want is like the ideal goal. You know, that goes into branching out into like having our own certain parts done, our own films, or you know, we can. There's a lot to grow from it.
First, I want to say thank you for letting me come by and interview you. You know what I'm saying? It was a great, solid interview. You know what I mean? It was real informational. You know what I mean? I feel like we covered some good aspects. You know what I mean, for the viewers to lock into. Now that you have Motorsports Designs, are there any other business adventures you'd like to get into?
Yeah, man, I always got the next thing. And within this company, we're starting up commercial graphics. So that's our next thing that we're getting into. We just finished up a food truck. We're about to do another trailer, a truck. I mean, we're always growing, never stopping. And I mean, that's my job here, to make sure we always got business coming in to be able to employ all my people.
Right. Well, y'all heard it here, folks. You know what I mean? It's one thing to have a job, but it's another thing to have something to call your own. Creating longevity, creating generational wealth, something to pass down. Something that somebody else can enjoy, based off your vision. So on that note, we're gonna close out, man.